You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn connects you with experts from all over the world to help you take charge of your career, your business, and your life. Rap along with us. Visit drjacalyn.com to learn how to become a guest or a sponsor. And now, the doctor is in.
Happy Friday evening, and thank you so much for joining us here on Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn, Stories of Hope, Inspiration, and Overcoming Adversity. I am your host and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. I am a certified life, career, yoga, and meditation coach. And this show is really touches my heart because this is the show that I started back with in August when we started producing our own show. And I really started the show because I run support groups and I wanted people to be able to have a place to come and share their story so they didn't feel isolated. And then it just took off. And I think it's because everyone has a story to share. And with us today is someone who's been on our other programs, and she's just an advocate and a leader and someone I admire so much. Her name is Jan White, and I welcome her to the show. Hi, Jan.
Hi, Dr. Jacalyn. How are you?
Hi, it's so good to see you again.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having me back.
And we were introduced by mutual friends, Alex Kaplan, right?
Yes.
Yes. And he's been on the show. He's got an incredible story to share as well. Your story is one that really has stayed with me for a long time because it's such it's a story where if you were ever put in that position, you couldn't imagine what you would do. And yet what you went through and how you handle it, I think is just incredible. And I would be so honored if you would share it with us today.
Thank you. We were living the American dream. I married my college sweetheart, Michael. We have an awesome son, Ethan. Mike and I run a successful small business, Meetings by Design, for more than 25 years. I love being active, and I studied martial arts. And in April 2015, was even accorded the honor of achieving a 3rd-degree black belt in Kenpo karate. But just 1 year later, almost to the day, our lives were forever changed when I was diagnosed with aggressive stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma that had invaded, among other places, my chest and my spine. I went from running the business with Mike and studying for my 4th-degree black belt to needing a walker. We did 5.5 months of intense chemo. And by intense, I mean every 3 weeks, I did 96 continuous hours of chemo. And during each of those weeks would receive multiple injections to Maya, which is a permanent head port implanted to get the chemo to my spine. When that was done, we did a high dose, high risk inpatient chemo. And when that was done, almost a month of radiation. I was pronounced in remission. I am here. It wasn't until much, much later that Dr. Shaw, who I'm quite certain I owe my life to, told me just how close we had come. That my file was dropped on his desk at 8:30 in the morning. By 8:45, the partners had met about me. By 9 o'clock, they were on the phone to me with the words, "Be in this office in 1 hour. Pack a bag, you're not going home. You're being admitted directly to the hospital from the office. We have to begin chemo today. We have to try to save your spinal cord and your life." By 10, I was in his office, never having heard of him before. By noon, I was in the hospital. I was cycled through heart study, lung study, blood work, PICC line shoved in my arm, and by late afternoon, I was on chemo. Our heads were spinning. But the speed was crucial because the assessment was I was 7 to 10 days from being completely paralyzed and 3 weeks from dying. That of his career, I was his full-blown emergency. But I'm here. And on our 30th wedding anniversary, I was here to play in Disney World with Michael like two little kids, just like we did on our honeymoon. And the weekend we knew Ethan was proposing to Marissa, an amazing young woman. We knew the weekend, but not when. So my phone lived on my lap, and I was here for the best 3-word text ever. She said yes. I was here for 1,000 moments of simple joy with family and friends. Coming out of treatment, I knew I wanted to do something. I wanted to honor my tireless cheering squad of doctors, nurses, physical therapists, family, and friends. So I became an advocate and a speaker, speaking to doctors, to legislators, to patients for making change and raising our voices gives what we now call the adventure purpose. That's my story.
Jan, I've heard you tell your story a couple of times, and every time, like, I'm sitting back here, just like, I just get the chills. It's just, I can't even imagine that phone call and how your life changed like that. And yet here you are. And you've taken your life and your time and you're devoting it to helping other people.
Yes.
I'm wondering, first of all, thank you for sharing your story and being so transparent. I'm wondering, what challenges do you face as being an advocate with the system?
With the government system, with the medical system, which system?
Look, whichever one you want to start with.
I think the medical system is great. I think there is a lot that can be improved. The first is that I think doctors and patients need to work together and need to listen to each other. I need to be able to take the data in, to assess it, to look at all of the options. They need to be able to hear my needs and not just give a knee-jerk standard answer. Maybe I'm different, but I've discovered that I sort of buck the system a bit. I remember at one point, my oncologist and I were not seeing eye to eye on pain management. I have now chronic pain as a result of my treatments. And, he looked at me and said, "You're arguing with me." And I said, "Yes, I am. But you can't get mad. The fight is what kept me alive. You can't admire that and then get frustrated when I use it other places."
That's such a good point. We just had a show right before this, and we were talking about it. It was actually a business show, but we ended up talking about your health and how you have to actively be on top of what's going on with your health. And so, like you just said, you spoke for yourself. You didn't just take whatever information was handed to you. How important do you think it is that you're your own best advocate when it comes to your health?
It is absolutely critical. Doctors know medicine very, very well. They know charts, they know drugs, they know procedures. You know your body and you know your life, and you have to be able to speak what you're experiencing, what you're worried about, what is working for you, what is not working for you. And you need to have a partner in the medical community who listens to that.
And Jan, in your experience, it sounds like you had some incredible medical team that worked with you. Are you finding as an advocate that when you need to speak with physicians or get physicians involved, that they're open, they're wanting to help, or are they overwhelmed by what they're already dealing with?
I think it's a cross-section between the two. I think they are incredibly dedicated and do want to hear. I also think they are slammed with workload and with paperwork and with things coming at them every single direction, particularly through COVID.
A question I have for you is, when you look back on that day, that phone call, do you now think prior to that there were signs that something was happening to you, or no?
There were, but I presented very atypically. We actually chased pain for about 2 months. The assessment at the time was that I had a cracked rib, and that takes 6 weeks to heal, and there's not a lot you can do about it. And as we went on, things finally came to a head when I'd been back several times. I'd had an x-ray that was deemed normal. But Good Friday night, I coughed and it was lightning bolts down my legs. And suddenly my legs weren't quite working right. So that gets everybody moving in a hurry.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
So, but because I didn't have any quote unquote cancer symptoms, no sweats, no bruising, no fevers. I did have weight loss, about 15 pounds, but that wasn't until like the last 2 weeks before I was diagnosed. So were there warning signs? Yes. Did the warning signs make sense? Not exactly.
When you look back on that and you hear yourself saying that right now about your rib, is there any anger that you feel that maybe somebody could have caught this earlier?
No, actually, believe me, within the first week or so of diagnosis, everybody was screaming lawsuit. And when I went back and looked at it with clear eyes, everything made sense. There was no reason to look for anything beyond what they were looking at. Up until maybe a week before I was diagnosed, while I was in significant amounts of pain, I was working, I was on a road show, traveling, I was still taking karate and kickbox classes. There was no reason to think that anything was dreadfully amiss.
And was your stress level, was it higher than normal during that time?
That's hard to assess, but because of the pain I was in, I wasn't sleeping. So was I stressed? Sure. But was I stressed because of the pain and the no sleep? Mostly.
Yeah, obviously completely different situation, but I know from having ulcerative colitis for so long and how painful it is, and
Yes.
and you can't sleep, and it's the stress, and it's this violent, it just goes on and on and on. And now that I'm in remission, thank goodness. I'm usually in remission for about 6 months of each year, but I think to myself, wow, I was under a lot of stress.
Right.
So, and it's hard not to be under stress, right? It's kind of part of life.
I think anymore that is just part of life. It's how you deal with it.
Right. Definitely. We are going to take a break and hear from some of our sponsors, but I've got a lot of questions that I want to ask you and some other things I want you to share with us, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay. We have, thank you. We have a new sponsor, and he is actually over in Australia, and the name of his company is Our Choice Fashion. His name is Philip Westerland. Let's take a look at his clip.
When all my broken sneakers started to pile up in the wardrobe, I realized that we have a problem. Sneakers are made from plastics, and plastic is not mendable. My name is Philip, and I'm one of the founders of Our Choice Fashion. How many times did this happen to you? How can eco sneakers save the world when they break after only a few months and we have to buy pair after pair that breaks? We are here to give you the solution, a choice for truly sustainable fashion in the world's first circular sneakers. On average, we all buy 3 pairs of sneakers each and every year. This adds up to 25 billion sneakers per year, of which most end up in landfills. This adds up to 350 million tons of CO2 emissions, the same amount as for the country of Italy or the state of California. So we started to develop a product that would have all the old-fashioned qualities. It is mendable, it has a classic design, and it has a natural comfort. Because we chose the best designer there is, Mother Nature. The sneakers get more and more comfortable the more you wear them. Made from vegetable tan leather and natural latex from the rubber tree, the sneakers are both sustainable and comfortable. These sneakers are made from pure raw materials that are both fully biodegradable and fully recyclable. The best thing here really is that when your sneakers need an upgrade, you just send them right back to us using the same bag that you got them delivered in. We then resole your sneakers, put on a fresh pair of laces, and give them a nice new polish. This means that you can wear your sneakers for many years to come. Our sneakers are more than sneakers. They are a circular function, and we developed a smart pull for you to step into your sneakers without stepping down the heel. This means that you get a truly sustainable grip. We've got a fully circular business model, and that's why we'll only produce sneakers on your demand. Book your product now and get that sustainable grip at a discount. We've been on this amazing journey for 2 years, and now we're inviting you to also make a choice for truly sustainable fashion. Try the world's first circular sneakers, 100% plastic free, and I can promise you that our choice will be your companion for many years to come.
Hi, my name is Zane Carson Carruth, and I'm the author of this book, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever.
Reading is magic. Studies have shown that reading to your children lays the foundation for greater success in life. Reading helps develop language and vocabulary skills. It helps improve memory, and it encourages curiosity and inspires creativity. The benefits are immeasurable, and as a parent, you'll benefit too. In only 10 or 15 minutes a day, you'll be creating warm memories and a bonding experience that will last for years to come. So take time to read to your children. Read them books about things that engage and interest them. Tales of fairies and magic fascinate children, and as everyone knows, the Tooth Fairy is at the top of the list. If your child loves magic, wands, adventure, and what child doesn't, you'll love reading them books from the trademarked series, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever. Follow along as Bella, the world's first tooth fairy, accidentally starts the tooth fairy tradition. Learn the tricks of being a professional tooth fairy in the book, Bella Starts a Tooth Fairy School. Your child's imagination will soar as you read the adventures of Bella and her magic wand. These wonderful books are available at worldsfirsttoothfairy.com. and at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Walmart.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the most listened to radio show on the planet. Even the other stations are tuned in too.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Welcome back to Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn, stories of hope, inspiration, and overcoming adversity. With me today is my guest, Jan White, and Jan says Onward.
Yes, it is.
Jan, what does that mean? And that's your website also. So what's the significance of that?
During the adventure, while we were battling the cancer, there are some really hard moments. There are painful moments, scary moments, very unsure moments. And Mike and I, during those moments, found ourselves saying onward. Whenever a moment was really tough, really hard, we would just look at each other and say onward. So coming out to do the speaking, we could think of no better name than Jan Says Onward.
I love that. Jan, when you were going through this whole thing, and I've asked you this before, but I'm going to try to phrase it in a different way. Did you feel isolated?
Yes, it can feel very, very lonely. There is really no one who can understand, or there was no one in my circle who had been through something like this, where you're staring down chemo, you're staring down tumors, you're staring down walker all at once. And it feels very alone. And also because of the chemo, because it devastates your immune system so badly, there were weeks and weeks where I was on what we termed full lockdown. We even had to evict our son. He was not allowed to live here for that summer because he was working at a day camp, what we termed the germ factory, and the doctors and we all concluded he couldn't live here.
Mm. You've been through so much, and yet I look at you, you always have a smile on your face and you're always positive. What is it that you do to keep yourself motivated?
I try to remember life, but please understand, great smile now, yes, but I'm no hero, I'm no saint. I have my meltdowns with the best of them, and after the tears on the couch and a hug from Mike and some wine and some chocolate, it becomes Onward. I worked very hard to stay active, even during the adventure, tried to keep life as normal, whatever normal means, as possible. Great example, I think the second day in the hospital, I called Mike and said, bring me my earrings, bring me my makeup, bring me clothes. I am not living in pajamas for the next 6 months. I'm getting up every day. I'm getting washed up. I'll get showered the days I could get showered. I'm putting on makeup. I'm putting on jewelry. And I did it every single day. And I still continue to do it as normal as possible.
That sounds like a phenomenal thing to do. And I applaud you for doing that. I remember when my dad was in the hospital, he refused to wear the pajamas and he had to have clothes. And so I think that there's a lot to be said about that. So I'm really interested in your work as an advocate. I know I do some work with the Crohn's Colitis Foundation, but it's very minimal. And so I know that this is something that you put a lot of time and energy into. So if you could just walk us through what that looks like.
Sure. I have the privilege of being an advocate, legislative patient advocate for two phenomenal organizations. One is the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network. The other is the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. And what I do as an advocate with them is we work on specific pieces of legislation that affect cancer patients and their families. And then I meet with legislators, both the state and federal level, to talk about the legislation that we're reviewing and why we think it's important and the difference it will make in families' lives, and encourage them to sign on to that legislation. And I will tell you, the very first time I went to the Hill, and as I was walking up, it was the very first time I felt empowered with cancer.
That's incredible. And Jan, I'm also wondering, how do you get a legislator's mind to, how does your bill become a priority? How does your initiative become a priority?
Sure.
Because they get so many people coming to them about so many things.
And it's a great point, because I think we've heard statistics about hundreds of bills literally crossing their desks every week. So when I meet with them, we as advocates put faces on numbers. It's really easy to dismiss, ink on paper. But when you hear from patients and their families and their caregivers about how a situation unfolded and why the legislation you're discussing would have made that situation better, that has an impact. Stories have impacts where numbers just don't.
So for people who are thinking about becoming an advocate, how important is it that these legislators see you in person?
Absolutely critical. I mean, Zoom is great, in person is better, but seeing the faces, hearing the stories, illustrating why something does or does not work, you can't understand it unless you've lived it. But since they don't live it, we work to illustrate it so they can understand it on a personal level versus a straight numbers on paper level.
And how many, or let's say a bill is up for being passed, how much time normally do you have to commit with these legislators, or even preparing to meet with them? Is this something that takes days, months? What does that look like?
For the majority of advocates, we're volunteers. So you can do as much or almost as little as you want to. And the good news is the more you do, the easier it becomes. You know the legislators, they know you, they know your story. They understand that when you walk in, you're going to be buttoned up, you have your numbers and your facts ready to go, and you're going to talk to them and be respectful of their time. So you can make a full-time job out of it if you want to, or you can do a couple hours a month if you want to, or anything in between.
And what steps did you take and do you take to get the data and the information that you need to present?
That's where my staff organizations are absolutely critical. The organizations that I work with will be sending me information in advance of the meetings. They're the ones who set up the meetings. So I know what the legislation is, what the possible concerns are, where it's going to matter, what's different than has been done before. But one thing that's absolutely critical as an advocate You get asked a question and you don't know the answer, don't guess. Just tell them you don't know and you'll find out and get back with them.
Just lead with the truth.
Lead with the truth, always.
And I'm thinking to myself that through this journey, you've made new connections. You've met, I guess, a whole bunch of people. But how important when you're going through cancer and after is it to be participating in a support group?
I think that answer is different for everyone. Candidly, I tried a support group once I was done with treatment. Not really my style. Didn't really work for me. But I do think it's important that at some point, anyone facing a significant challenge, be it cancer, be it the ulcerative colitis, be it a family situation, be it a legal situation, go talk to someone, be it a support group, or actually in my case, maybe about 3 months into the adventure, my aunt, who I'm incredibly close to, called me and asked me if I was talking to anyone. And I told her I was fine. And she shot right back at me. You are not fine. How could you possibly be fine? You're staring down stage 4 cancer. Go talk to someone. She was right.
Did you?
I did, and I still do. And it is incredibly helpful because no matter how strong you are, no matter how great your support system, this is a lot. And to be able to talk to someone who's completely objective, and completely neutral is important.
I agree with you. And if you think someone who doesn't have the health condition that you have or ulcerative colitis or anything, life is already tough. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's already hard. And when you get that phone call, you have 1 hour and you were 3 weeks from dying. I would think there has to be I just know for my own situation, which is a chronic illness, the shame, the anger, the fear that what you've gone through, you have to have it quadruple 100 times more.
We talk about it being the flood of emotions and the fear. And, when I talk about that I'm not a hero, I talked about this in a speech I did recently. As women, we are taught from a very early age, you just handle it, all of it, no matter what. That's not healthy, or at least not healthy for me. There's a Facebook message that I sent to a friend because I didn't understand prior to the adventure what it meant to be in shock. And looking back on it now, the first few days, I was absolutely in shock. And I really didn't understand that until I was awake at 4 a.m. in the hospital, who could sleep at that point. And I sent a Facebook message to a friend. And the message said, I think the numb is wearing off. Reality is setting in. And I don't know if I'm strong enough for this.
Wow, what an impactful moment. And when that reality started setting in, what was the first emotion that came up for you?
I am not ready to die.
So was it, so it sounds like it wasn't fear. It sounds like it was resilience.
It was resilience, but it was fear. It was, what is going to happen here? Am I going to die? Am I going to be permanently disabled? What is going to happen here? And the unknown is tough.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. And I just appreciate so much that you're so open to talking about it, because as you've shared, you are still in pain. You are still going through things.
Yes. We have learned, we thought that, we believe the marketing of cancer, quite frankly. We thought you do your treatments, no matter how rigorous, you take a couple of months to put yourself back together, and then you continue on with life as you knew it before. Yeah, no, at least not for me. We have learned that this is a lifelong gig. We are left with what we call souvenirs, because when you go on an adventure, you should always bring home souvenirs, right? So we call them souvenirs, and it is an ever-evolving reality. I have chronic pain. I have neuropathy. but you deal with what it is. Life is meant to be lived. I didn't go through the adventure to sit on the couch. So let's go.
Let's go. What's one thing that you had to give up as a result of this?
I had to give up my martial arts, which was very difficult and very painful. I still do my forms, my katas, actually as part of my physical therapy, because that's balance, agility, stamina, coordination, all those great things. I did try going back to class, but the list of rules for me, if someone hit me wrong, could be catastrophic. We decided was unfair to the other members of the class. So I gave it up.
And are they your belts behind you?
Yes, they are.
So that's pretty cool. Can you just share with us what each represents?
Well, you start off at white at the bottom in the Kenpo discipline. Everybody starts off as a white belt, and then you progress through the yellow, orange, etc. on up. And each level, you need to know more techniques. Then you add in the forms and the katas. When I earned my 3rd degree black belt, I might get the numbers wrong, but at that level, I would have known approximately 150 techniques, meaning defensive techniques, equally well right-handed and left-handed, about 250 basic combinations, and 8 forms. And I had to know for the techniques, not only how to do them, but why and how they work, and to explain why I would use a particular one in a particular situation.
How many years did it take you to get all those belts?
15 years.
Wow. So it sounds like that was a huge part of your life and you had to give it up.
I did. And it was very difficult to give up. Like I said, I did try going back a couple of times, but it was probably about maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago now, where I had left my gis, my uniforms, hanging in my closet because they served as motivation. And then I realized, as we had made the decision to move on from it, they had become painful reminders, so I packed them away. I told Mike I was going to throw them away. He's like, don't throw them away, just pack them away. So I did.
Well, thank you for sharing that. So what would you say is, in addition to your advocacy, is a positive thing that came out of a very trying, difficult situation?
I have 2, actually. The first is amazing people have come into our lives that we would have never been graced with. The dedication of my doctors and my nurses and my physical therapists and even complete strangers continually astonishes me and renews my faith in humankind. The other is I'm much more aware of moments and of gratitude than I ever was before. Every single moment I'm aware.
Wow. 2 really powerful things. We have a comment from Ben Chai. Jan White, journey is incredible.
Thank you.
I'd love for you to connect with him. He's an amazing person, just like you. He's in London, and
I love London.
Yeah. I'll connect you guys. Yeah, Ben, thanks for watching. So, Jan, for people who are interested in helping you, is there anything they can do?
I would love to broaden my speaking opportunities. The more I speak and the more change I see happening, the more eager I am to get out there and really empower patients and have doctors understand what we are truly facing and how we can better partner together for even better outcomes for more people. I speak to hospitals, I speak to women's organizations, pretty much any place facing a significant challenge. Cancer is the great leveler, if you will. It does not discriminate. It affects every strata of society, and I want to make it better and easier for people.
Thank you, Jan. Are you interested in speaking engagements that are local to where you are, or?
I am very portable. I will happily either do virtually or get on the road.
Excellent. And if people want to make a donation in your honor to the American Cancer Society,
there is actually a great fundraiser for American Cancer Society going on now called Lights of Hope. You can go to my page under fightcancer.org, and there you can honor someone's memory or who is truly fighting for those luminaries. And those are usually set up in non-COVID years around the Lincoln Memorial. I will tell you, to see 40,000 luminaries around the reflecting pool of the Lincoln Memorial is powerful and haunting all at the same time.
Yeah. Jan, you mentioned your page. What did you mean, your website or?
Actually, to make a donation for that, you would go to the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network for their Lights of Hope page, is where I'm taking donations there right now.
Okay. I'm sorry. Can you say that again slowly?
Sure. American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network, Lights of Hope. And you would search for my name. So far, I'm the only Jan White.
That's great. And Jan, also for people who are listening to us in Radio Land, what is the best way to get in touch with you? We're streaming your banner, which is Jan Says Onward. Is that .com? So.
If you go to www.jansaysonward.com, there's a message page there. You can send me a note.
And are you open to someone maybe struggling with cancer, going through a difficult time, reaching out to you?
Yeah, that'd be fine. I'd be happy to talk with someone, and whatever will help them.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. Well, I applaud the work that you're doing, and I'm always glad that you're here, and you look great. And, you know, I know that everything's not perfect, but you've come a long way, and you're inspiring people every day. So keep it up.
Every day.
Wonderful. Any final words for our audience?
I thank you so much for having me here. And I would ask everyone to please remember, just dig deep. I promise the strength is in you when you need it, and to trust that.
Fantastic. They're great words to leave us with. Jan, it's been an absolute pleasure, and look forward to following your journey and cheering you on.
Thank you so very much for having me. I wish everyone a great day.
Thanks for being here, Jan.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks, for watching our shows. Jan is obviously an incredible person, and I hope that you do make a donation. You do reach out. You do try to help with the advocacy, because it takes more than one person. It takes all of us, really. We have another show coming up after this, I think in 15 minutes or so. It's the variety show, and our co-host Lori Mendelson has the night off. So Al Cini is stepping in as the co-host, and we're interviewing an environmentalist. His name is Kent, and he goes by Swampy, Kent Swampy Glade. So please stay with us. We'll be right here on social media. We're on Business Talk Radio. We also have 2 new shows. We had one today, Fashion, Fitness, Travel, and Leisure. It's on noon Eastern time with co-host Diane Floyd-Bain. She is an international award-winning author. And our guest today was from Paris, Marcella Jones, and you can watch that on our YouTube channel. Our other new show is with Ian Pelham-Turner, and it is on Wednesday starting April 21st, and it's on at 10:30 in the morning Eastern time, and it's called the Royally Rich, the Great Britain edition. So we're really looking forward to that, and a little comment from Ben, hooray for Alcine and Swampy. And we have a great show with Ben Shai. The show is, thank you, Ben. Our show is called The Underdog Show. So it's about overcoming, like what Jan just described. We have people lined up from different parts of the world sharing their story of what it's like to be an underdog and what they went through and how they came out on top. So that's an incredible show, and that's new also. That's Wednesdays at noon Eastern time with Ben Shai. And if you don't know Ben, you've got to know this guy. He is a celebrity, and he's a huge following, and I'm really blessed that he is partnering with us and he's doing this show, because he brings so much value and light to the world. So thank you, Ben. That's all for right now. We look forward to seeing you hopefully in a few minutes. Take care.
I tried to ignore it, but my stomach issues were out of control. I couldn't fix them on my own. It was time to do something. A friend said the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation could help me find a specialist. Feels good to finally have a plan. Don't hide your symptoms. Get help at spillyourguts.org today.